So the daycation, just so you guys know, is something that Frank and I kind of started a couple years ago. He was staying at my house while he was cross training. It was like right before, uh, like the state fairs were about to just really get going, and he just like burst into my room and he's like, "Hey, you want to be spontaneous?" And I was just like, "I don't know what that means, but maybe." And he's like, "Do you want to fly to Arizona tomorrow and go watch the Cowboys and Cardinals play?" And I was like, "Yeah, why would I not?" So we got on a plane the next day and we flew to Phoenix and watched the Cowboys play the Cardinals on Monday Night Football, and then got to hang out with Luke and Caitlin Mills, which was just almost that was even better than the game, honestly. So, but yeah, we do little daycations. We've done one to like Kansas City and Vegas and all over the place. So many more in the future. Awesome. So, Carrie, do we have the PowerPoint? World-class visual displays, or as I like to call it, of course you're not selling as much as you want. Take a look at your displays, you ignorant slut. So visual displays is honestly like one of the most important factors. I need this. Okay, I gotta move. Visual displays honestly are one of the most important factors in our business because it's the thing that like makes 90% of the people want to actually come and talk to you in the first place. Like if your booth does not look inviting, people are not going to want to come into it. And honestly, it's an evolution that is ever changing. Like I guarantee you that this message next year will be like totally different from what it is this year, just because of all of the innovations that have been done. So maybe one of you guys will be given this message next year. But one of the things that we've done in the TGP team specifically is just put a lot of focus, a lot of time, and frankly, a lot of money into this project. During the state fairs, we spent literally like 20 grand just on our tables that we're going to be using for the state fairs, and you'll see why. But honestly, I would say that like the displays that we've invested in for the state fairs, they are the best looking displays that I have ever seen. I may be a little bit biased on that, but basically what I just really want to get across to you guys is that in TGP, we're better than you, and we know it. So that's why I'm giving this message. No, guys, just in all honesty, I do want to give you a few things to consider to really up-level your displays. I didn't have a handout for this specifically for two reasons. Number one, I want you guys to actually like pay attention and write down the things that I say because you'll retain it better. And number two, I'm terribly irresponsible and a chronic procrastinator, and I didn't get the handout in by the deadline. So what we're gonna do is go through the evolution of the booth setup. So over the past few years, we made a ton of progress towards making our displays just the best in-class displays that they're out there. So this just shows you kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly of what we looked like, you know, in 2008. I'm not even sure who those people are. But that's what our booth setup used to look like. Then even a couple years ago, this right here was what we were working with. And now like this last year, just the continual up leveling of our displays is something that is really exciting. So some of the big advancements that we have made are going from those vinyl banners and getting the cloth backdrops. That right there just classes up your booth immediately. We have better quality tablecloths. We're adding lights. We're adding different levels to the displays. But yeah, so we can just kind of go through here. This right here is some of our old school displays. One of my favorite parts about this displays is the curling banner right there. That looks super great. And then the student work tablecloth that was obviously borrowed from a campus table. So yeah, these are super great. This is another one. We have the you know random wood blocks back here. We have this weird watermelon dinosaur or shark or something. I'm not sure what that is. But yeah, we have removed those from our displays. But overall, they just honestly they just look classier. And so today you can see like even, you know, once again, from the 2014 and 2018, this right here is one of our mall setups in Oklahoma City. And just this was actually one of the big key things on getting tables in our mall instead of having to do the kiosks. And that's been a big game changer for like really making our malls produce better, is actually just like having these table setups. And I will tell you right now, promoters love them. Like if you show them pictures of that and that's what your display looks like, it's absolutely incredible, and it will open so many doors for you. So this right here, these are a couple more of our displays. This one of our setups at the State Fair of Texas, and then this is one of our setups literally earlier this year at one of our big gift shows in the Dallas area. And so, like, you can see just so many things. I think the biggest thing is the lighting up here is just a huge factor. Even up here, we randomly at this show, we accidentally had to pay like an extra $130 for it because they put the plug in there, but they didn't tell us if we used it, we had to pay more. But it was well worth it, just because it just made our booth so much more inviting, and we sold a lot of knives at that event. So I've kind of whittled it down to the elements of the world-class displays can really be summed up in the 3 L's. It's lighting, it's levels, and it's lines. So go ahead and write those down: lighting, levels, and lines. So I really appreciate Brian Carter for his work this year on making sure that we lit up our booths at the state fairs this year. That was one of his like big passion projects this year, was making sure that we had sufficient lighting. So this picture right here, whoops, this one right here with that sexy individual working in the booth, the only lights that were there when we got there was this little one in the middle. And I cannot tell you like how dark it was. We were just like, there's no way that people are gonna want to like come over to us. Like we're like the dark alleyway that a guy in a trench coat standing in with just, you know, want to buy some knives. But we added in several of the light sources here. We added in the ones right there, just temporary light sources that really bring a lot of people over to the booth. We made sure that all the backdrops were lit. That's very important, honestly. So like you want to make sure that the backdrops get lit, because that's like, it really is kind of most of your booth. It's what people's eyes aren't kind of naturally drawn to, mostly because they just don't want to make direct eye contact with you for some reason. So they find something to look at like further away. And so lighting up the backdrops, we also had the tiered shelves that were lit up as well whenever possible. And it just adds this ambiance that just attracts people over to you in the first place. So there's a lot of simple solutions that you can get for lighting. Number one is going to be these little things right here. You can kind of see this little thing. It's literally a clip-on light that you clip onto the back of. You can clip it onto the back of a tiered shelf. You can clip it onto the frame of your backdrop stand-up. There's so many different ways to do it. That one is huge. Another one that I found is you can go to Walmart or Target, and like in the little hardware section, you've seen those lights that literally you just like click it on and off. It's made to like go under a cabinet, or, you know, just be like a little night light or something like that. You can buy those, and honestly, they're really great for if you want to, you know, attach it on one of your shelves to shine down on a flatware chest. I sometimes, depending on how my setup goes, is I'll put it literally in the flatware chest, shining on the table knives. And it just makes them sparkle like a little bit more, which is really great. And those things can be used in so many different ways. So those are some of the great things that you can do with lighting. Next up, we got levels. So one of the exciting things that another great reason to work in TGP is Brian just throws money at problems. And he got us all these 3-tiered shelves this year to not only use in the state fair season, but also in our personal setups. And so these right here can be bought on Amazon for less than $50. I'll tell you all about that later on. But that right there does so many things. So like adding levels has been a absolute game changer. So any way that you can create different levels in your booth, the better. Basically, what you got to think about is old school, we would have everything on the tables, so it actually wouldn't meet people's eye line. And so if you can put the ultimate set like on a customer's eye level to where they're just like looking around and they see that is ideal. So not only do the different levels add a great aesthetic, but it also gives you more space. This is one of the most underrated things about these shelves is that literally I can fit an entire Cutco kitchen setup in one one little 2 by 2 foot area, where normally, like back in the day when we first started, that was taking up like a whole 4 foot table or even more than that. But it's like with that little 2-tiered shelf, I think I have it on the let me see here, the next slide. Nope. The little 2-tiered shelf that is right here, this thing right here, you can fit an ultimate set on top of it. You can fit a flatware chest down below, and then you can like line cookware around the outside of it. You can even use one of those little hooks that you get at the shows and hook like a fry pan on the side of the shelf. And it just adds in so much more space that you have to work with, which is really, really good because like we are selling more things than ever now. Like if you think about it, the old setups, they had like knives, and then they were filling the rest of the space with like a random garden trowel and, you know, the BS essentials block. I mean, the essentials set is a BS set anyway, but don't even get me started on that. You don't have the most popular knife we make in your set? What is that about? But no, so now we have cookware, we have flatware, we have hunting knives, we have garden tools, we have business gift samples, we have the gadgets, etc., etc. And so instead of filling that space with these old wood blocks or rotting fruit sculptures, you get to fill it with shiny stuff, which is what brings people over. And we all know the old adage of like, if you have it for them to hold and for them to see, it's so much easier to sell. So much easier to sell. Cool. And then finally, there's the lines. So working at a Cutco booth, it's a constant balance of chaos and order. And so our brains crave order. And one of the best ways to do this is with lines. So when you look at the set, the picture of the complete set on any backdrop or any Cutco thing, what is one thing that you'll notice about it? It's like all these knives, same line, same line, same line. They're pointing inwards. All of these right here, same line, pointing in the other way. It's all symmetrical. All the table knives are, you know, face up ideally or face down, but as long as they're all facing the same way. And it's all about symmetry. And so symmetry basically equals attractiveness. And so like, why do you think Jennifer Lopez is still one of the most like attractive actresses out there in the game at the age of almost 50? And it's because her face has near perfect symmetry. And so that's what you're striving for whenever you do this. So like, for example, why do you think I spent thousands of dollars to get braces as a 24-year-old man? It's a great look, by the way. It's because my teeth were janky and there was no symmetry and it didn't look good. And so that right there, like some of y'all's booths really, really need braces. Like, that's the thing. You want some of the keys to doing this. You want the sets facing inward, so they're angled at the way that they're like literally like looking at the customer. So you want your boards on an even plane. You don't want one like pushed further forward or further back than the other. You don't want them like sitting at different height levels. You know, if you use different screws in the back to put them at different levels, you want everything to be nice and symmetrical and have good lines. The shelves, you want them placed either in the middle of your setup, or you want them placed on one of the ends to end cap it. You don't want it just like somewhere randomly on your booth. And so a lot of this is stuff that you can do in the setup, but a lot of this honestly is stuff that like you have to maintain throughout the entire day. And I know it can get really, really annoying. Like customers will come up, they'll pull the knives out of the set and they'll put it back in backwards, and it makes me want to stab them. But instead I just go and you fix it. You know, as much as I would like for them to have the spatial awareness to see that the steak knife is not facing the same way as the other 11 freaking steak knives, you just got to keep an eye on that kind of stuff because it's going to happen. So like literally anytime I come back from the bathroom or anytime I like just have an errand that I'm running or something, I come back and just do a sweep of the entire booth just to make sure that like all the knives are facing the same way. Everything's got, you know, nice lines, everything like that. And then, you know, you'll have the customers where it's like you set up your knives and they come up and they're like, I got this one and this one and this one and this one, and then your knife set it's just a jumbled mess. I thought that the boards would fix that, but now they just cascade down like the world's most dangerous set of dominoes. Uh, but yeah, so like that's the thing that you have to do. You have to constantly be maintaining the lines in your booth just to make sure everything's symmetrical. And I mean, you can even look at stuff like in this room, these chandeliers right here, like the way that they're designed is to have symmetry. They're designed with the lines to come down, even like the like the molding on all the stuff. Like if you look at the Cutco events backdrop that we're taking pictures on, all of those logos are placed in a very specific way to where it creates lines diagonally. And so these right here are some examples. The like even the way that you set up your gadgets, like do you have them all facing in a way that is appealing to the eye? This right here is one of my favorite new additions to my booth setup. It's this like magnetic display block for my business gifts, and it's super sexy, and it gives me both like levels and lines. And then if I throw one of those lighting on there, things on there, it's like unstoppable. Um, but yeah, so the as far as the maintenance of your booth goes, this kind of brings me to a good point, guys. Like keep your booth clean. Like that's one of honestly the simplest things that you can do that will up level your displays. Don't have leather just like scraps hanging out around places. Don't have random cut up potatoes. Clean your freaking knives after you use them. Straighten them up. Keep your drinks and your snacks like at least out of sight or like in like behind a set or something. Under the table is preferable. Keep the knives on your board straight, all that good stuff, but make sure that you keep it clean because that's also going to keep it functional. Because if you know where things are, it's like I know that whenever I go to my booth setup, it's like I have 4 clipboards underneath one of my display boards right here. I have like my extra specialty secret knives that I get to show my customers under this board. And then under this board, I have a table knife, a steak knife, my junk knife, and then like my pair of bypass pruners. And then I have the little 3-quart pot right here. It has my leather and my pennies, my potatoes in it, and that is like kept with the lid on it so that customers can't see that. But everything is neat, tidy, and it's prepared. Anytime I cut leather, it immediately goes into the trash can as I'm transitioning into the next portion of the demo. So keep your stuff clean. So quick question. Who do you want to buy CBD oil from out of these two? Yeah, this guy right here on his cell phone with the saggy banner, or these people right here who got it lit up. They literally have like a huge, like a ficus just sitting on top of the table. And it looks amazing. And you can tell that they've invested into literally every single one of those 3 L's. They have different levels that all their stuff's on. All the lines are really, really nice. And then they have super awesome lighting. They even have this like little thing that says CBD with like the rustic like light bulbs, like an old school signage thing. And it's awesome. So there's a couple things that this does. Number one, it just makes people want to come to your booth. But number two, and I think most importantly, it creates price expectancy when your booth looks better. If I go up to this guy and he tells me that his CBD oil costs more than $3 and a high five, I'm out of there. Like, it's like, what? No way. This stuff right here, like I am expecting if I'm coming up to this booth and inquiring that I'm going to be laying down some coin if I do want to invest in their stuff. So it creates a price expectancy with your customers. Cool. So the next thing that I want to talk about is caring for your booth. This right here, how many of y'all in the room by show of hands have invested in your own booth setup? Real quick. That is awesome. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. So honestly, that was one of the biggest things in one of the biggest turning points in my business was when I finally invested in like an entire display kit. Just because it really made me appreciate the divisional kits so much more that I had already been working with for years. It's so worth it to take care of your stuff because once again, even our samples and stuff, it's not an easy investment to make. And so you want to keep your stuff looking good. I'm very, very particular about my own booth kit, and I am the only one that gets to pack it up at the end of the show. Nobody else gets to touch it. And so there's the main ways for caring for your booth. This also applies for your divisional booths. So if you guys are not doing this with your divisional booths, you really, really need to look at fixing that. So number one is going to be create a system for packing up your bin. This right here is super important. And it's one of the things that in TGP, what I did was, since I oversee all the divisional booths, I literally went through and took pictures of the different steps of the packing up instructions. So it's like, for instance, it's like cutting boards on the bottom. You have the flatware chest right here in its case. You also have the ultimate set next to it. What you're going to do is you're going to put the 5-piece tray in the middle of them because it fits perfectly in that little slot. And the next step, you're going to put the Siggy on top of the flatware chest. You're going to put the homie and the galley laying the other way so that it all goes the same direction. You got barbecue tools in there, but create a system for how you want to pack up your booth. It's a giant game of Tetris. Like, that's all it is. And so whenever you can figure out the most efficient way to use the space in your bin, it's going to make your life a lot easier, and it's going to keep your stuff looking way, way nicer, because if you just throw it in there with reckless abandon, you're going to break things and you're going to be sad. Next up, we got protect your sets. So the easiest, simplest, cheapest way to do this is just go to Walmart and buy pillowcases and put your sets in the pillowcases so that way, like, they don't rub up against each other and get scratched. I know, it's so crazy. Simple results, like simple solutions for these complex results. Care about your cookware. This right here, this is one of the biggest mistakes that I personally made whenever I first invested in my booth kit. And so one of the investments that I'm making again this year is I'm reinvesting in cookware. So I'm going to buy a whole brand new set of cookware for my booth because I didn't take care of it like in the first place. So the best thing to do is just to keep those plastic bags that the cookware comes in and just keep them in there. Like, just keep track of those things. And so you never want to have any of your cookware touching your other cookware in the bin, like not even the lids. And so, like, if you're going to stack your lid upside down in the pan, which is like a good a space saving technique, you want to have a layer of plastic or cloth or something in between them, because it will scratch over time and it will not look as good. This right here is this is Josh's like legacy cookware setup that he has for the state fairs. And that was one of the biggest things this year, where he just sold so much more cookware because he had ridiculously shiny cookware stuff, because he was so careful about how he takes care of it. Also, keep your flatware looking fresh. I know that we got those little inserts, the things, those are dynamite. We have those for a lot of our displays in Texoma or TGP. And those are really, really nice. But if you aren't using one of those, you have to use something. Like, you should not close your flatware chest without some layer of cushion in there between the actual forks and spoons and the table knives. It's very, very important. You want to keep those looking fresh, because the flatware is just one of the easiest things to sell if you got it looking good. Guys, fold your freaking tablecloths. Like, seriously, fold your tablecloths. Like, if they are wrinkled and dirty, like, nobody is going to want to come up to that. Also, label everything. This is one of the big things, since we have so many divisional booths and we also have so many personal booths. You label everything. Like, literally, even my military engraved lockbacks have a silver stripe on the bottom of them with a Sharpie, like signifying that it's mine. But label everything that you have. Your backdrop, your cookware. You can use little stickers to do this. You can use, like, tape with your name on it, or just like like take a Sharpie and write your initials on it. All my hunting knives have my initials on the bottom of it in Sharpie. So just do something like that to label everything, so that way you don't get it mixed up, especially when you have large events. And then I also do want to tell you about some of the investments that you should make into your displays. I'm going to hit these really, really quick. Number one is flatware. If you do not have a full flatware chest in your display, you are doing something wrong. It is one of those investments that you absolutely should make. And if you think you can get by with just the place setting in the flatware chest, like, you are selling yourself short on the potential that you have to sell flatware. I'm telling you that right now. Get cookware. Cookware is a big thing. Like, aspiring chef set is really all that you need. And if you have that, like, you can show so much of the most popular pieces with cookware. Have at least one set with steak knives. So have either your signature or your ultimate, or ideally both, with full-size steak knives. Because once again, when people see it, like, it looks so much sexier, and they're just like, gosh, I want the bigger steak knives. Get all the hunting knives. Shelly Pewitt made a big investment into her thing, because she works a lot of gun shows, and she literally bought like all the hunting knives plus some. Like she got the different colors, different edges. It's absolutely crazy. But have all the hunting knives just so your customers can see it. Have logo engraved samples. Those are also very important if you're wanting to sell business gifts. And then the cutlery care set. Honestly, it's the 3 cutting boards and the sharpener for your straight edge knives. That honestly is one of the like cheapest investments that you can make that will make a huge difference. Because like whenever like if you need to give away free stuff on a deal, you hype the crap out of the cutting boards and the sharpener and like give it for free along with your thing because it already comes with the sets, and it's so awesome. Um, but also you can use all 3 cutting boards stacked on top of each other with a set on top of it to create levels. So that's another good thing. I do want to go over some of the great additions that you can make off of like Amazon. I know I got like a couple minutes left, so I'll speed through these. Magnet blocks or magnet boards. Those are one of my favorite new additions to my booth, just because once again, it adds levels and it adds like a creative thing. That one on there, it's the Conix, Conix magnet board that you can get on Amazon for like $30. And I even do a deal for my customers where whenever they get like super hyped about the cutting board, I'm like, hey, anytime you buy 5 pieces of Cutco, I just buy you the magnet board. And so you charge them full price for all the pieces and you got that. But it's an awesome display piece. I know I'm not here to talk about sales. The 2-tiered and 3-tiered shelves, those right there are absolutely amazing. Those little like push lights, like I was telling you, those folding stands right there, you can get a pack of 12 of them for like $7. Putting gifts on those, putting like other cutting boards kind of faced up, just like once again creating a different level. These are some of the easy and super cheap things that you can buy on Amazon to really kind of take your displays to the next level. And so thing that I do want to end with is just this: we sell a very expensive product, so gosh, we really need to act like it. Because that is really what's going to help take your displays to the next level. It's expensive, so let's treat it that way. Thank you guys very much.